We're on the bottom of Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, and it's been saying differences between the. Oh yes, okay, good. And we've been talking about some differences between the first 3 days. First 3 days on more homework. We had a list of things yesterday, and I think this is the last one on the list. And just a little agdam, what I was going to be talking about, that Avelos is 7 days, the sitting Shiva, and sometimes people start at different times. And the question, and the process will be each person has to count 7 days from whenever he started. If he started later, so he has to start 7 days. It doesn't have to do that for the 7 days after the death or the burial. A person has to keep 7 days of Avelos. So here's going to say that if some of the family started and some of the family didn't, and they came together, so it could be that the late starters also might finish together. That's going to be the subject.
That's what that might mean.
What was it?
My mother was into on a Thursday. I didn't get to America till Friday morning. And then they got up on Wednesday. They told me that I can get up with them.
That's this thing over here. So it starts. Tanu Rabbanan. This is the last narrow line on Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. Tanu Rabbanan. Avol Gimel Yamav Rishon and Bami Makom Krav Mani Mohen. If he comes within the first 3 days, like you said that they started on.
She was buried on Thursday.
So they started sitting Shiva on Thursday, and you didn't start
I didn't sit till
Friday.
morning.
So that's within 3 days. So that's the case. If the late arriver would have come after 3 days, so then it wouldn't have had that leniency. Here it says only within the first 3 days. But the Gemara is going to say, what I just said now is the machlokes, means the halacha might be different. But here so far it says, according to Tanakama, only if he comes within the first 3 days, and he came from a close place. That's also another point. Malcolm Korov. He came from Eretz Yisrael to America, so that's not so close. But that's going to be the issue, what's called close or not. So here it says, within the first 3 days, if he came from a close place, then he counts together with them whenever they started. The family started counting earlier, and within the first 3 days, one of the relatives also came, and he had not started, but he came from a close place. So he also can count together with them. He finishes with them. But even if he came within 3 days, if he came from a faraway place, then he still is on his own. He has to count on his own. So Eretz Yisrael is far. But Taisus over here says that close means within a day's travel. That's how they understand Taisus. Taisus says in the name of Allah Gedolos, Yud Parsos means 40 kilometer, which in those days, which is the day's travel. But the poskim say that it means a day's travel. So a day's travel, even if it's from Eretz Yisrael, it's a big leniency, because then the whole world today is within a day's travel almost. Okay, that's what the poskim seem to say. So 2 conditions: it has to be within the first 3 days, and also from a close place. If he came after the first 3 days, then he's on his own, even if he came from a close place, only if it was in the first 3 days. Rab Shimon argues. Rab Shimon Omer, he argues on this halach. He says it doesn't have to do with the 3 days. Even if he came on the last day of Shiva, the late comer came on the last day of Shiva, he finishes together with the rest of the family. That's the brisa. That was the brisa we just had. That if he came within the first 3 days, then he also came from a close place, so he counts together with everybody else. He finishes with everybody else. One more condition necessary, that it has to be that the Gadol Habayis is in the house. What does that mean? The Gadol Habayis means, I don't know how to translate it. In English, it means literally means the eldest, the Gadol Habayis. But the poskim say the biggest. But the poskim say it doesn't have to do with age. It has to do with the person who's the one who makes decisions, the one people everyone looks up to. Sometimes it's the older, sometimes it's not. Sometimes another one of the family might be the Gadol Habayis. It doesn't have to do with the age. It means the one who people look to make the decision. Any word in English you have for that? Okay.
The pushy one.
Or the people who was looked up to, like you might say Yehuda of all the Shvatim. It might be Yehuda, even though he's the fourth, but the one that people look up to as the leader. So if the word to call the one who comes late, the one who arrived late, if he comes to the house where the Gadol Habayis is there, then he becomes tougher. Means the whole point is that even though he didn't have the 7 days, but he's tough to the rest of the family. So he's only tough if it's within these conditions here. That's within 3 days. It's from a close place, and that he's coming to the Gadol Habayis. So that's like the main center of the Avelos. Like that's the family of Avelos, is because he's there. And then if you have these two conditions, Reb Shimon holds you don't have to have the first condition. It could be even on the seventh day. But at least the other condition, it has to be Mimakum Karov, and it has to be that he came to the house of the Gadol Abayis, where the Gadol Abayis is also sitting Shiva. Iboilhu, the Gemara is a question. Halach, Gadol Abayis, Lebeis Akvaris Mahu. So I'll say a pshat now. Don't take this pshat that I'm going to say as Allah Lamaisa, because I don't know if it's Allah Lamaisa. I think the post have a lot of different possibilities in this Gemara. It's not considered an easy Gemara, but just to say some kind of a pshat that if somebody went to the basic forest, means that he didn't come late stam, or he didn't hear about it, or because he was far. He came because he was osik with the mace. He's the one who went to the basic forest, and you have that a lot of times, that one of the relatives goes to bury and the rest of them are not. So is that more reason that he should be able to stop with everybody else? He didn't go stop. It wasn't that he didn't hear about it, then he started late. He's the one who's osik with the mace. So maybe that should be a reason why he might be able to. I'm sorry, that's to get the microphone wasn't working. That's the. Let's notice it now. Okay. The fact that he went to take care of the mace, that might be a reason why he could be tafel to the rest of the family, even if he doesn't meet all those conditions. Tashma, that if he went now. The question would be that the way some portion would learn is that the fact that the issue we just had a second ago that says that the Gadol Abayis has to be in that home in order to be considered the center. So if he went to the basic chorus, that's not a chesaron that he's not there. If he went to bury, I was saying a little different that the Gadol Abayis is lavdafka over here. It means that anybody, even the Gadol Abayis, means it doesn't have the condition of arriving at the Gadol Abayis because he is the Gadol Abayis. The oldest. Let's just call him the oldest. We said that the postscript say it's not necessarily the oldest, but let's call him the oldest over here. So if before we said that there has to be one of the conditions has to be that it comes to the oldest. The oldest is the one who's already started earlier, and then somebody who came later can be tofel to him, can be nitpal to him. But the question was maybe if the Gadol Abayis went to the basic chorus, so when he comes back, he's not coming to the Gadol Abayis. He is the Gadol Abayis. So maybe that's also a reason that he should be able to count from the beginning because he went for the mace. And the Gemara says yes. The Gadol Abayis the basic chorus moni mohen. He could.
How does it work? Just like somebody's nifta, and then they bury him at Yisrael. So, and let's say half the family members stay in America, and the sons come here and bury. Do the people in America start sitting shiva before she's buried?
So that's gonna be coming up in about 10 lines. That's the one that's the 10 lines down. That's highlighted. The Gemara is going to say this point. When did those start? When those who were not going together with the mace, when did they start sitting shiva? Mamish say open Gemara. So far the Gemara said that the latecomer is only if it's within 3 days. Machlok is 3 days even on the 7th day. Second point is there has to be makom karov, a close place within a day's travel, and he is coming to the center. The central avelus of the family is where the oldest is. But the Gemara had a point that if the person went to the basic forest, and even if he's a Gadol Abayis himself, so he's going to be lacking that condition when he comes back to the family. He's not coming to the oldest because he is the oldest, and so too other cases also. So I said that's also good enough to count with them. He doesn't have to start on his own because he went for the reason of the basic chorus. The most kasha moni mon vatanya mon alas. When there's a price that says the opposite, that if he didn't come, basic chorus is not an excuse, so to speak. Lo kasha hadasa b'goy tlasa hadaloasa b'goy tlasa. That the condition of 3 you still do have. 3 days you still do have. That condition has to be within 3 days. Maybe even Reb Shimon might be moed over here. The post can say that even Reb Shimon says that the 7 days, even on the 7th day, maybe he's masking over here that this case that he wants to be nitbal, even though he's not coming to the place of the Gadol Abayis, maybe he also is going to agree that it's only if it's within the first 3 days. But the point of Gadol Abayis that gets waived, even though it's not the Gadol Abayis, so the Gadol Abayis himself is coming. Still, it counts from the beginning, but it has to be within 3 days. I don't know what this is. A family, Rav told them. Those who came within 3 days, they can come together with you, even though it seems they went to the basic forest. But if they didn't come within 3 days, even though they went to the basic forest, they have to count on their own. This is not Moshe's question over here. Rava told the people of Mechuzah, that's the place where he was the Rabbin. Rava was the top Rav of Mechuzah. He told Atun, the Loas Lisu, the Basa Arsa, you who don't go after the bed, the Arsa is a bed, you don't go after the coffin, you're staying When you turn your faces from the gates, Bavadabula is the gates of the city, so start counting. That means when, like Moshe's question, that let's say people in America and bringing the mace to Eretz Yisrael, so they go to the airport, let's say, whatever. So when they turn around to go home, so then they start Avelis right
You
away.
have to sit there for a second.
They start Avelis, so they have to start Avelis. So if they would start Avelis means they start Avelis. So how do they start Avelis? Taking off the shoes. That doesn't have to do with sitting dafka. They do something to show the Avelis that they're now in Avelis. Avelis also allowed to walk and go home. But you have to start Avelis.
They would write his kriya.
Okay, the kriya we'll see halachas of kriya later on when is kriya supposed to be done. But here, as far as starting the shiva, they start shiva as soon as they part from the mace. And the person who's going together with the mace, he doesn't start Avelis. So that's the case that you said, that people start Avelis.
Israel, and it only starts with Israel.
Right.
The one who goes together with the mace doesn't, I think it's going to say after the burial, that's when the Avelis starts, the 7 days. But the people who are parting from the mace, even though he's not buried yet, they start right away.
So that's like Chavrus, that could have happened with his family, and he was here.
He was here.
In America.
Right, and they started right away. Right, they started, and he started later. And the case happened to be that he did go back to sit shiva with them, and even though he's the Gadol Abayis,
right,
but he also went to the Beis Forest. That's the case of going to the Beis Forest, and therefore he did finish together with them. He did finish. So there are more details. There's halacha. Nobody should have it relative to them, but there's halachas over here that sometimes even if somebody started later the shiva, he might finish together with the rest of the family if he meets all the conditions. So the three issues that we had were maybe it has to be within 3 days. That we said Reb Shimon argues we're going to pass like Reb Shimon. We'll come to that soon. That's the next sugya. And even not the first 3 days, even 7 days. We didn't hold to that condition. But the other conditions, it has to be Mimakum Kor within a day's travel. And also that
nearby. Oh,
I said a day's travel. I said day's travel. That's how they pass. That's how they explain. That's how they explain that. You're right. The Gemara says Makom Kor, but the post can explain it means a day's travel, which is a big chiddush that is called Makom Kor halfway around the world. That's a chiddush, but that's what the post seemed to say. And the other condition was that he's coming to the central shiva that even the Gadol Abayis is there. But if he went to the basic forest, if the Gadol Abayis went to the basic forest, that's why he's not there, or he himself when he comes home. So he also could be nitbal because he went to the basic forest as long as within the first 3 days. Okay, more or less. And the last halacha was that the Avelim who are parting from the mace, so they start Avelis right away, even though the mace is not buried yet. We said that Reb Shimon argues and says even the 7th day. Reb Shimon Omer afilu bo b'yom hashvi makom kor moni money doesn't hold it as first condition that has to be within the first 3 days, even on the 7th day. Only as long as he's still sitting shiva, that the comforters are still there. It means that, like we see by Avelos, that on the 7th day the people come to be Menachem, and then when they leave, then the Avelos is over. Like we said, Mikzas Yom Kikulo, that on the 7th day the Aval doesn't have to mourn the whole 7th day, just mourns part. And then when the Menachem leaves, so then it's over. So when it says, Reb Shimon says, if he comes on the 7th day, so even on the 7th day, he could be part of that Avelos and he doesn't have to hold 7 days on his own. He finishes together with them. That's as long as he came while they were still sitting Shiva before they got up. But once they got up, so then even though it's the 7th day, he has to count his own. He didn't overlap them. That's good. Tanakama said 3 days. Reb Shimon said 7 days, but even 7 days, it has to be before the Mikzas Yom Kikula, before they got up. Once they got up, so then the Shiva is over and he didn't come together with their Shiva and he has to have his own 7 days. He has to be there the whole 7 days. If they started getting up, they started getting up, they were mamish getting up, but they didn't get up yet. They're ready to get up. Is that the mamish? They came out a split second. He came when they started getting up, they started holding on to somebody, whatever, to be able to get up. And then they came in. Is that still called that they got up or not? The Gemara has this question in other places also. What? By Reb Shimon on the 7th day. And even the 7th day, as long as they didn't get up from that Veilus and they're on the way getting up, that exact time is a suffix if that's considered that they got up already.
But we don't pass them. No.
We do. We pass in like Reb Shimon, that even on the 7th day, as long as they didn't get up from their Veilus, and this question will be a question if they started getting up, but they didn't mamish, is that called getting up, that they got up already? The next story. The next
If they knew he was coming, they would just wait.
If they would have known, but they had no telephones. Yeah, else he would say, "I'm coming." Wait, wait a couple of minutes, but they didn't have that.
I'm not so sure. Is there Indian to try to save someone from Shiva? I mean, just hold on.
Okay, I don't know.
Why should they wait? Okay.
Okay, question. Okay, next. The next halach is the next rest of the page is going to be really paskin like. The answer is going to be paskin like Reb Shimon. I'll give it away. They pass like Reb Shimon even on the seventh day, but it takes a little bit of time to find that out. Here, that's the little gears to change that makes things simpler over here. Take out the words barachia. Let's make a little. I think I can do this over here. Let's see.
We have to do that.
Take out these two words here. Barachia. Gemiri Chavre de Rabbi Abba Rabbi Abba. The friend of Rabbi Abba, we don't know who he is yet. We'll find out in one second. The friend of Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Abba. Over here. Up. Testing. Okay. Okay. Right over here. If you could stick in, what's that? Just lost my page over here. Round up top base. Just stick in Rabbi Abba. And stick in Rabbi Abba. You see, no, you look on the screen. The friend of Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Abba. Who is his friend? Rabbi Zera. The first lesson says Rabbi Zera learned from Rabbi Abba. And others say that the friend of Rabbi Zera learned from Rabbi Zera. Who's that? Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Zera. Either Rabbi Zera learned from Rabbi Abba or Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Zera. What did they learn? The following thing. Put in two words. Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba, Breda Rabbi Abba. It just got confused in the Gersos because the Rabbi Abba got confused over here. There's Rabbi Abba, plain, and there's Rabbi Abba, Breda Rabbi Abba. Okay, so somebody said over to the other one that Rabbi Abba, Breda Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Yochanan, Allah Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel betrayfus, but Allah Rabbi Shimon ba'eva. He told him that Allah, he told his friend, either Rabbi Abba to Rabbi Zera to Rabbi Abba, whatever it was, Rabbi Yochanan said that the Allah is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and some issue about treifus, which the Gemara is going to bring down what that issue that was. It's not negated to us. That could be parentheses. And Allah Rabbi Shimon ba'evel, we pass like Rabbi Shimon and the halachas of Avel, which is our halacha here. And the Gemara explains, Rabbi Shimon ba'evel hadam moran, our subject. If a relative comes from, he started the Avelos later and he came to the family, can he finish together with them? Rabbi Shimon says yes, even on the seventh day. Tanakama says only within 3 days. So he passed like Rabbi Shimon. What's negated to us? We'll just make this thing. Allah Rabbi Shimon, not red. Let's make it nice. Let's make it not red. Let's make it yellow or something. Same as everybody, same as everything else that was said till now. Halacha Rabbi Shimon ba'Avol hadam moran. He meant to paskin like Rabbi Shimon, but halacha ba'Avelos, but the halacha we just spoke about, that even if they come on the seventh day is good enough. The rest of the Gemara now, for many lines, is going to be talking about Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, not negated to us. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel betrayfus. What was that? They meant to say that halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, but halacha of treifa. There's some halacha in treifa. It's not negated to us at all. In Chulin, there's halacha about a treifa. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel permits something, and he passed like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel over there also. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel had a leniency that even if the intestines of an animal got pierced, there's a hole in the intestines of an animal, so it's a treifa, but there was some mucus that stuffed it up. So Lamai said stuffed up, even though it was a hole, some kind of a treifa. The fact that there was a lecha, some kind of a mucus that stuffed it up, it hardened, that makes it kosher. It's not a treifa anymore.
Is that halacha?
My lecha, what kind of mucus is that? Some kind of a thick mucus that comes out of the intestines when you press it. Okay, so that's what he said. It doesn't talk about the lungs over here. He talks about the intestines. Okay, that's it. So what do we have so far? That Rabbi Yochanan was quoted as saying, either Rabbi Zera or Rabbi Abba. Somebody quoted Rabbi Abba, Breda Rabbi Abba, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. These two halachas. One is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, a leniency about intestines that got a hole and it got stuffed up from the mucus, that it's not a treifa. And Allah Rabbi Shimon ba'Avol, our halacha, that even if double comes on the seventh day back to the family, he's allowed to finish together with them. Amamandu, somebody said, usually it doesn't say that. Amamandu, somebody said, we don't know who it is. Amamandu, somebody said, I should be zocher to go to Eretz Yisrael to be able to hear this statement from the author. Means Rabbi Abba, Beder Abba Abba was quoted as saying this. Either Azera told Rab Abba or Abba told Rab Zera that Rab Abba, Beder Abba said this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So he says, like somebody, I guess, was skeptical about this report. So he said, Alavai, that I should be zocha to go to Eretz Yisrael to hear this statement from the mouth of the author. Kisolak, and eventually he did. This man who he got to Eretz Yisrael. Kisolak, when he got to Eretz Yisrael, he found him. That's who he's looking for. He wanted to find Rabba Beder and ask him, did you say so? Did you say? I heard in Bavel that you said Allah is like Rav Shimon Gamliel B'Trefus. Did you say so? I said no. I said he got the report wrong. I said Allah is not like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. It's not. It is a treifa. Doesn't help. Even though it was stuffed with the mucus, it doesn't help. How about the other question? Rabbi Shimon Be'evel Mai. What do you think about? What do you say? I heard also that you say that. Allah is like Rav Shimon. What do you hold about that? Amalei pluptaninu ditma Rav Chisda Malacha ve'chein am Rabbi Yochanan Halacha Rabbi Nachman am ein Halacha ein Halacha. So he said I didn't say the Allah is like Rav Shimon. I just said it's machlokes. I'm wrong. We pass like Rav Chisda says the Allah is like that, and so to Rabbi Yochanan. It's like that was quoted. Rabbi Yochanan says Allah is like Rav Shimon by Ovel, but Rav says the Allah is not like Rav Shimon. But now the Gemara says now the Gemara is going to pass, and the Gemara takes over. This thing that you wanted to know about the treifus that it got stuffed up because of the mucus, we don't pass like Rav Shimon Gamliel. It is a treifa, even though it got stuffed up. But as far as the veilus, yes, that's the halacha that even on the seventh day, if the avel came to the family, he doesn't have to count his own veilus. He's coupled to the rest of the family, even if he came on the seventh day. Like the Gemara says, it has to be before they got up. That we do pass like that he has to have not gotten up yet. But as far as the third or the seventh day, it's even on the seventh day. Yes.
Okay, Shimon is not Shimon ben Gamliel.
No. They're right. They want Rav Shimon over there by treifa. Now we're back to Asugya about Avelus.
So Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yochanan.
Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Yeah, the regular Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
It's the regular Shimon.
The Gemara's over. That's the end of the Gemara. What we do today, so far, we talked about one halacha, the halacha about one of the Avelim coming late to the central Avelus, that he doesn't have to count the full 7 days. He could end whenever the rest of the family ends. There was a machlokas if it has to be only within 3 days or even on the 7th day, it passed like Rav Shimon even on the 7th day. The condition was it has to be mimakum korav, which they per se means within a day's travel. And also that it's coming to the Gadol Abayis, that the Gadol Abayis is there already. But there was an exception to that. If the Gadol Abayis went to the basic forest, then even if he's not there, or even if he himself is a Gadol Abayis who went to the basic forest, when he comes back, he's not coming back to the Gadol Abayis. Still, he can finish Avelus with them, provided he came within the first 3 days.
There, the stringency of 3 days.
Yeah, the 3 days seems to be a interruption. Yes. New Gemara. Now the Gemara starts a series of halachas that differentiate between Avelus on other relatives and Avelus on a parent, a father and a mother. And it's going to have a list of things that there's a difference. There's a difference between parents and other relatives. So it starts over here, 3 lines off the bottom. Al kol hamesim kulan, matchim yitasa harezah meshubach. But Allah v'alimo harezah maguna. Matchim yitasa, Rashi says, memar lo tzio, that he tries to make the funeral as soon as possible, tries to bury him as soon as possible. So on other relatives, so if someone is trying to bury the relative as soon as possible, that's praiseworthy. But on a father and a mother, so it's not. It's opposite. It's not a praiseworthy thing that a son tries to bury the parent as soon as possible. He should try to stall. So of course, there's going to become there'll be a conflict between the other relatives and the sons and the children. The children are going to try, according to what the Gemara says, the children should try to delay as much as possible.
What do you mean delay? To make it fade and things like that?
So some say, the Mepharshim say, in order to be able to make a eulogy, to make a more,
Maybe bigger, more people.
maybe bigger, maybe it doesn't say in the Gemara.
The people who are further away will get the answer.
Maybe, but other relatives, they're praiseworthy if they try to make it as soon as possible. So I don't have a great explanation. How come there's a difference between the other relatives and the parents? So that's what it says.
Maybe because father and mother, there shouldn't be machlokas and siblings. No.
There's machlokas between the children and the uncles and the aunts and all the other relatives are trying to push that they should make it as soon as possible, and the children. So it doesn't say over here who wins the conflict, but it says that who's praiseworthy. So if it's a different relative, So not besides the parents. So then the faster a person, the relatives try to bury him is more praiseworthy. But for a parent, it's more praiseworthy if they try to delay.
Really?
But Erev Shabbos, Erev Yom Tov, or there's a girsa, or there's a girsa that the Bach brings down that all the Bishonim had. Oshayu Gishomim Mizalfin Al Mitasa. Where is that? Here's the girsa over here. Or if it's raining on the coffin. So then it's praiseworthy even for the children to hurry it as soon as possible because it's considered a gnai that it's raining or whatever. So if it's Erev Shabbos, Erev Yom Tov, and then therefore it's going to be, if they stall, so then it's going to be pushed off until Motzei Shabbos, Motzei Yom Tov, so then that's too much of a stall, and therefore it's a Bazayin Ames. So even the children also would be praiseworthy if they would rush the funeral as soon as possible. Shein also, is doing it, he's rushing for his honor, for honor. So the Gemara is pretty vague. It doesn't say the reason how come it would be praiseworthy for the children to delay, but it says even there's a limit, and if it's going to be Erev Shabbos, Erev Yom Tov, or it's raining, so then they also would be praiseworthy if they would try to rush it.
By me, my two sisters, my brother, my in America, they were there, and they called me up and they said, "You're the only one that's not here." I said, "Don't wait for me. I want my mother to be buried the same."
Uh-huh.
I
So it could be that there's a limit over there. How much it's going to be? Like it says here, from Erev Shabbos to Motzei Shabbos, so that's too much. So it could be if it would take time till you'd get there. Also, it would be the same idea.
On Friday, but
Right? It could be. Yeah.
I said, "Do it
Yeah.
the
Okay.
same day."
Okay. So here the Gemara has some kind of a distinction between other relatives and a parent, and the details I don't
It
know.
doesn't say, it's interesting, the Gemara doesn't say what to do when you have the conflict between the parents.
Yeah,
the
it could be.
kids and the
Yeah,
brothers.
yeah, it doesn't say. And that doesn't say the reason either. Doesn't say the reason. Does Rashi say? Rashi says, Rashi doesn't say. What I saw, they bring down that, I heard that the point is because that the children wanted, the Hespedim should be longer, and how come the other relatives not? That the other but they should try to rush it as soon as possible. I don't have clarity what the two tzaddim are, why it's better here, why it's better there. I don't know.
There was a tzaddik in the Yerushalayim, remember by Langer?
Yeah.
He made a tzavah that he should be buried straight away, and even if children not going to get there. He himself made it.
Okay. Next, I'll call him Mason Kula and Rasa Mamait Bisco, Rasa Ena Mamait Bisco. Ahmed Beis, Allah Alimo Mamait Al Mamait. So here, not so clear what the word Mamait Bisco means. It sounds like business. So it says that other relatives, the mourners, could minimize their business or not, which is very fair because during Shiva they not allowed to do malacha. So what does it mean that they don't have to minimize their business? They do have to minimize the business. This is difficult over here. And what is that? And a father and a mother, then he has to mamait. He has to minimize his business. So if it means the choices might be, Rashi says chora, but says that chora also should be yasser. The choices might be that he's doing it through other people, or in some kind of case that it's mutter. Davar aved, the Mepharshim talk about that even if there's a heter, it does have to clear the way that it has to be that it's mutter. If it be yasser, then it's also even for other relatives. So even if there be a heter, let's say davar aved, and it is, and we pass in davar aved is also yasser by avel. No, that wouldn't be good enough. Davar aved is also yasser, but some kind of heter, whatever heter might have been, the Rebbeinu Hananel says it's talking about through other people that could do business for him, also not during Shiva, only later. But it's mashma, there's some mila that on other relatives is not necessary to minimize the business so much. And by a parent, he has to be mamayit. Maybe it means during shloshim or as much during the year. I didn't see the postscript that say that he has to be mamayit even during the year. I think there's more coming up later again that's going to be similar. So maybe we'll be able to find out more when we get there. The next halacha, top line, I'll call a mason kul and ratza choletz, ratza ena choletz. So the issue of choletz we don't have nowadays, but we'll see later on that there's issue about choletz. I saw it one time only that somebody did it. That point would be, we'll see later that it says that after a person did kriya, he tears the garment. So then there's an issue of taking out his arm out of the neck, out of the collar, and he goes with a bare shoulder. That's called chalitzas kasef. Nowadays it's not the custom. And that's a way of showing, degrading himself and showing mourning. So that was the custom in those days. And it says that on a parent, the person is mechuyev to do it. And nowadays, the culture is not such. But then it was. And that would be halacha that to show his grief, he would bare his shoulder. That's called chalitza. Chalitza means to uncover, to take off. So it takes off the beged over the shoulder. Rashi here says chalitzas kaseh. first Rashi on the page. Usually we do the word choletz is like choletz menolo, but here the word is choletz kseifa. So on other relatives, a person does not have to. If he wants to, he could, but doesn't have to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't have to. Allah v'alimo choletz. He has to uncover his shoulder in mourning of the parent. Then it brings a story. Third line. There was a gadol ador. Gadol ador means like the great person of the generation. Nowadays it means like the biggest Talmud Chacham. Then it meant a person who also might have been a Talmud Chacham, but not necessarily. Here we're going to see it is Talmud Chacham. It means a very powerful person, the leader. So there was a gadol ador that his father died, and he was going to do chalitza. He was going to take out his shoulder out of his sleeve. And there was somebody else that lechvodo. If he was going to do it, so somebody else was also going to do it. There was another someone who was not a relative. He was going to do it in honor of this Avel, the son who was doing it. He also was going to take out his sleeve, but so therefore the son held back and he didn't do it. If his taking off, it seems like it's not an absolute halacha. If it would be absolute halacha, he can't not do it. But it seems that even though it says he's supposed to, but it overrides if it's going to infringe on somebody else's cover.
Why would the other one want to do it?
He wanted to do it lechvodo,
the one who was
doing it. So the son himself. We'll see the story, and the son himself didn't do it. The son was going to do it, but because his friend was going to do it also, and it wasn't kvodo, so he didn't do it. Very, very interesting. Now, who are these people? There's a gadol ador who was a Avel, and there was a friend. Amar Abaye. Gadol ador was Rebbe. Gadol ador Shimo was Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. So he's identifying who the people were. Rebbe was the son, who was his father had died. Reb Shimon Gamliel died, and Rebbe is the son of Reb Shimon Gamliel. He died, and Rebbe was going to do chalitzas kasef, and his friend with Gadol ador Shimo was Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. He was also going to do chalitza, and because of that, Rebbe didn't do it.
Who was Rabbi Yaakov Baracha? He was.
I don't know.
Omitted.
It seems he was a great person equal to Rebbe, and Rebbe didn't want him to do it, so Rebbe didn't do it. Igadamri, others have the opposite version. Gadol ador was Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. He was the one who was the Avel, and Gadol ador Shimo was Rebbe. That Rabbi Yaakov Baracha was the Avel who was going to do it on his chalitzas kasef on his father, and if he was going to do it, Rebbe was going to do it, and because of that, he didn't do it. The son didn't do it. And the Gemara has difficulty with with one of the stories. Bishlam alamandam of Gadol ador Shimo is Rebbe. Hainu denimna v'lo chalatz. If the one whose father died was Rabbi Yaakov Baracha and Rebbe was the friend, then the story makes sense that Rabbi Yaakov Baracha didn't do it, and nor that Rebbe shouldn't have to do it. But Elaman Dama Rabbi Yaakov Baracha, Amai Nimna V'lo Cholas, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Nasi Haba V'Kul Yom Machai V'Lem Mechlatz. Kasha. There was a kasha on the other version. If Rebbe was the Avel, who was the Avel on? He was the Avel on his father. Who was his father? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel was the Nasi. And the Gemara is going to say later on, when the Nasi dies, everyone's supposed to do chalitzas kasef, not only the children. The whole Am Yisrael is supposed to do it. So then the story wouldn't make sense, because if Rebbe's father died and Rebbe wanted to do chalitzas kasef and his friend wanted to also, so it's good. Everyone should. That should be that way. So kasha. So the Gemara is the kasha on this in the second version that says that the Rebbe, on the first version that says that Rebbe was the Avel. That's how it started. Gadol ador Rebbe. That wouldn't make sense, because if Rebbe was the Gadol ador, his father died. So then everyone should be doing chalitza. So that. But you do see something about this Gemara that even though we said that the son is supposed to do chalitzas kasef, but there is some consideration if other people are going to do it, that then he doesn't have to do it, which I don't understand exactly. If it's an obligation, so then he should have to do it. I don't know. The next Gemara. When is a person allowed to take a haircut? So for other relatives, 30 days. For a father and a mother, until his friends scream at him, then they say that it's too much. Your hair is too long. It's already too much. And therefore, he should take a haircut. So the poskim seem to say that even though the avelus on a parent is 12 months, but that doesn't mean he doesn't take a haircut the whole 12 months. It means until after the death, until he lets his hair grow long, until people tell him that it's too much. And after that, then he'd be allowed to take a haircut. The rest, there's no issue of a haircut anymore. There are some that
who is this name for?
We're starting a new idea. That taking a haircut, how long is it also to take a haircut? So there's difference between other relatives and a parent, and other relatives only shloshim, and on a parent. So usually we'd say on a parent, what we say, Yud Beis Chodesh. But it says there, it doesn't say Yud Beis Chodesh. It says here until his friends tell him it's too much. Some poskim say that during the whole Yud Beis Chodesh, he has to wait each time until take a haircut until people tell him it's too much. But other poskim say no, there's no Yud Beis Chodesh over here. It's a one-time thing that he waits, whatever it takes, 2-3 months until it goes overgrown and people tell him it's too much. And then after that, he's allowed to take a haircut again.
Up to now, we said this is a month. We were saying, I think.
By a parent, it's not a month. By a parent, it's less, usually Yud Beis Chodesh. Again, other relatives are Shloshim, and by a parent, it's 12 months. But here it says it isn't Yud Beis Chodesh. Here it says that it's still his friend's primitive. Yes, please. Someone says something? No? Okay. The next one, about going to a Beis HaSimcha. Al kol ha-mesim kula, nichnas Beis HaSimcha, lachi lamed yom, alav v'alim olachi Beis Chodesh. So going to a party, going to Beis HaSimcha, they ought to have a gear, Ben Chanal says Beis HaMishnah. So it says on other relatives, it's for 30 days. For 30 days, you shouldn't go to a party. On a parent for 12 months. Amar Rabba Baba Chana, ulasimchas mereyos. There's a question how to learn this Gemara. The words mean that this is talking about a simchas mereyos. Mereyos means a friendly party. People get together, they have a meal together. That's a simchas mereyos. So he says that this halacha is by simchas mereyos, that he's not allowed to join the simchas mereyos for another relative for 30 days, and if he's a mourner on his parents, then for 12 months.
Again, Ule Simchas Mereyus.
That's what we're talking. That's what. Yes, well, the simchas mereyos. That's what we're talking
It's
about.
another subject.
No, he's coming to explain. If you look on the screen, there's in yellow simcha. That's what the halacha is. That there's this to go to the base of simcha, and he explains.
Other relatives and for 12 months.
Yes, and then Rabbi Baba Khan explains that's talking about simchas mereyos.
Which can you identify it, please?
A friendly.
I know what it means, but does it mean it's not a mitzvah? Does that mean?
So he doesn't say anything about a mitzvah. This is the words that he says. Some of us say that it means to say that a mitzvah will be mutter.
Right,
but,
I'm thinking.
But it doesn't say that.
Jerusalem.
What?
Jerusalem or
A wedding, something that's called a mitzvah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say clearly. This is another one of those hard Gemaras. It doesn't say so clear. It says that simchas mereyos is what's asa.
It sounds like
And something else is
gathering of friends.
And that's what's asa.
Yeah.
And something else is mutter. That's what you might say. Something else is
So there's a
mutter.
place for it to be making.
Something is mutter.
Maybe a siyam on yourself, that you go to that.
Something else is mutter.
There you go.
The Gemara is the kasha that the Gemara is no teretz for meisvei ula simcha ula mereyos lamed yom. It says here two things. He translated that simcha means friendship, mereyos. But the Brisa says there are two things that are asa, ula simcha ula mereyos is lamed yom. And the Gemara says kasha because according to him only simchas mereyos is asa and another simcha would be mutter. And here it says that both of them are asa. So there's another simcha that's asa also. Kasha, the Gemara doesn't know teretz. According to this version, the Gemara doesn't know teretz because the Brisa is mashma that not only simchas mereyos is asa, something else is also asa. Amema masliyachi. Amema has the following. We come back to. We'll try to get something. Amema has a different version. Rabba Babachana ula simchas mereyos mutter likones la'alter. He says no. That the simcha that it says before. Just to make this one over here. Ula simchas mereyos. Whatever this is over here. Ula simchas mereyos mutter likones la'alter. Even though it says he's not allowed to go to the base of simcha, but this second version says that there's no isser on the simchas mereyos. It's only us or something else. Something else is us, and the simchas mereyos is mutter. The Gemara says the kasha, the same Vatanya, the Simcha, Shloshim, Ulumire, Shloshim. It says both of them is asa. There's two things that's asa. In the first version, it said that a Mireis is asa and something else is mutter. And we had a kasha that it says two things are asa. Here it goes a little different, the opposite. Here it says that he said Mireis is mutter. And the kasha is that it says Mireis is also asa. Mireis is 30 days. Lo kasha, how about Risusa, how about Peranusa? End of the Gemara. There's a difference between, I don't have a good word in English, if anybody could help me, when they make a rotation of these Sudas Mereyos, they have a barbecue by every Sunday afternoon, they have a barbecue by another one of the friends. They have a group of friends, 10 friends, and every Sunday they get together for a barbecue. So it says that if it's his turn, then he's allowed to do it. Even though he's within Shloshim or within a Yud Beis Chodesh for his parent, since he's supposed to pay back. He already benefited from everybody else's party. Now it's his Peranusa is to pay back. Then he'd be allowed to. But if he's the big Peranusa, no, it doesn't mean punishment. It means to pay back. The reason it's called punishment is because he's getting paid back. He's getting, but the word Peranusa alone, like
pay back in the nuts.
Yeah, like a piron means to pay back a loan. So here, Peranusa means that he's paying. That doesn't mean punishment. So it means paying back that he already owes
to
the Chabura. The Chabura makes a rotation of parties. This is possible to. It makes a rotation of who's making this party, and it's his turn. So he's allowed to do it, even though he's within Shloshim, within Yud Beis Chodesh. But if it would be that it's the beginning of the rotation, I don't know what the word Arisusa means. For some reason, it means the beginning. That he can't start. He can't get into the party now. They want to make a rotation of partying.
Then you can't do it.
Say he can't do.
Right, it makes sense because they're only establishing the.
He doesn't know anybody
Secret.
yet. He doesn't know anybody anything yet.
Right.
So
Nobody owes him and he
But
doesn't.
why do you have to
himself.
go so? Sorry.
No. Yeah.
Why do you have to go so extreme? Why can't it be someone else and different friends paying? But why is it be the beginning? Different friends giving that week, so they
Okay.
can't go.
okay, good. Maybe
Next question?
no, they're saying that he's not allowed to go. He's not allowed to join. Very nice. It doesn't only mean if it's beginning rotation, middle rotation. It means if it's his turn to pay. If it's his turn to do it, then he's allowed to do it. But if it's not, so he's not allowed to go. He's not allowed to go to somebody else's Simchas Mereyos. They have a rotation, and it's already middle of the rotation, and he's a member.
Oh,
He's a
doing
member,
his own.
but he doesn't have to go to somebody else's. It's only if it's his turn to pay back. I don't know why
He's not supposed. He should. Doesn't have to. He shouldn't.
he's not allowed to.
Right.
He's not allowed to. I don't know why he just can't pay. Let him just pay the bill, and he doesn't have to go. But it says he's allowed to partake of it. Maybe he also knows how to. He has to make it. Not only he pays for it.
Serve it.
Yeah, yes. It's not only a question of money.
That's interesting because that's where we have coolers when people go to weddings. They should do something to serve the table, bring everything.
No, that's
Fish for
not-
somebody. No, we have.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with that.
Why?
That's a fake out to say that he's not really coming to join the simcha. He's coming to be a waiter, and everybody knows he's not a waiter. That's like
Oh, so
a
that's a
shvacha lupa. So this is the whole. It's a chalash mode that he comes to be a waiter. He's not being a waiter unless. I heard one time there was relatives they all put on waiters suits and they mamish with the waiters. Then you could say there's something to talk about. But otherwise, but I would say I'll come back to this in a second. This is the whole Gemara about a Beis Hamikdash. This is it. This is the whole Gemara. It's very short. The first Gemara seemed to say that it's only Asur Simchas Mereyos. It doesn't say what's mutter. It doesn't say what's mutter. The first version said that it's only Asur Simchas Mereyos. Maybe I'll try to make this highlighted a little bit and something a different kind of color here. Here it says the first lashon said that it's only Asur Simchas Mereyos, and the second lashon said, well, the Simchas Mereyos is mutter likonis la'alter, and the Gemara explained b'paranusa. That was the Gemara's explanation that the second lashon that says that it's mutter right away. There's no issue of Simchas if he has to pay back. That we'll put that on the side.
Answer why we need the word la'alter.
There's no din of shloshim. Usually he has to wait until shloshim or on appearance with Yud Beis Chodesh. But he's saying that Simchas Mereyos is not on this. He's allowed to go right away after Shiva. He's allowed to join the party. So, but the Gemara explained that heter is only when it's paranusa. When it's paying back, it's his turn. But otherwise, he also agrees that it's Asur Shloshim. But the first lesson said that it's only Asur Simchas Mereyos and something else is mutter. So it's not clear. The Gemara should come out that according to the second lashon, passing like the second lashon. So it says that the Simchas Mereyos is Asur, but if he's paying back, it's already his turn to pay back. Then it's mutter. What else is the wedding Asur and all the Gemara? That's the end of the Gemara. I just heard a very interesting halacha psak that somebody said that even though the custom of people is to try to find some kind of heter going to a wedding of a close relative, like a son, that's where people have difficulty. Not to go to somebody else's wedding, so they don't go for the year, but to go to a son's wedding, a daughter's wedding, so it's very difficult. So people find that and they serve something which is very chalash, very weak heter, because everyone knows that he's not serving anything.
The family usually sits outside in the corridor. I've seen that in the people.
So they're not going. They're not joining.
The wedding.
But that's
passed away.
Yeah.
He was sitting outside. The simcha was inside, and he was sitting.
So he doesn't go inside. He stays outside.
Yeah. I mean, obviously for the chuppah, which is
the chuppah. There's the mutter to go to the chuppah. That's not the base of simcha, base of mishnah.
But when it came to the dancing, he moved outside. Sat outside.
Not only about the dancing, the whole banquet, the whole meal. Not only about the dancing, the whole meal. He should not eat in the inside, and that's going to say that he's staying outside. Someone said that as far as the parents go, the parents of the chassan kala, l'chara there's no issue to go because they're not going to have a good time. They're going because the chassan kala need a parent. They're not orphans. So that should be l'chara a heter. The poskim started saying this nowadays.
The grandparents.
The grandparents will be a question, or the uncles and the aunts, but the parents, they're necessary to be there. And if they're not there, it's a chisaron for the chassan.
I'm just thinking now, this had to apply to the chassan kala and the chedi. But then they don't not necessary to be there.
Okay. When they're not there, when the chassan kala are there, so then the parents, even if they're available, they should be able to come in. L'chara. Next Gemara. Anything that if no one should have any questions, halacha, but if they do, so ask a Rav. I'm not saying the Gemara, the basic text. Another difference between other relatives and a parent is about how much the kriya has to be. When he tears his garments, how much does he have to tear? that on other relatives are tefach. He has to tear the garment of tefach, a hand's breadth. And a parent, he has to tear until he uncovers his heart. So we're not talking about how many layers he has. The undershirt will be coming up soon, but as far as how long, how the length of the tear. So other relatives are tefach by parent until he uncovers his heart, till his heart.
So there's no chalitzas ketaf, but there is the length and the cut.
As far as nowadays you're talking about,
Yeah.
people don't do, yes, the Korea, the Israel relative nowadays is, and chalitzas kasef, the custom is not to do it because it isn't the culture nowadays.
They do lengthen the cut, no?
They lengthen the cut, what?
They do more than tefach.
More than 10.
Yeah, yes, for sure, why
That's what
not?
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, so nothing to do with chalitzas kasef. Chalitzas kasef, it doesn't apply nowadays because it isn't the culture, it seems. And the kriya does apply. And what's kriya? For other relatives of tefach, for a parent, till the heart is revealed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, take it back.
Micro. Where's the pasuk where you see that a tefach, that a kriya has to be at least a tefach? It's a pasuk that talks about when he heard about the death of Shaul. So David tore his garment, and it says he seized his garment and he tore it. So to seize it, in order to hold on to the garment, he'd have to be holding on to a tefach. So when he tore it, a tefach's worth. So that's the source to say that a kriya has to be minimum a tefach, but by a parent, so it says even more until he uncovers his heart. The next time,
But wasn't the Shmuel his Rebbe? And the same din as parent? Avi Rechav Israel, isn't a Rebbe considered halachically like an Abba?
I don't recall that it says that. We'll see. I don't know. And the pasuk you see Rechav Israel Parashat is talking about David and Shaul.
No, it's not. It's
I don't recall. I don't recall that.
It's a Tanakh Shalom, no?
Elisha and Eliyahu.
So this is, you were talking about David and Shaul.
No, but David and Shaul. I thought with David and Shmuel. Excuse me. I didn't know.
Shaul, you heard that Shaul was killed, and
That's that's not right.
he's his father.
No.
I'll call him based on Kulan. I feel love I'm not saying I don't remember clearly that doesn't say it. That doesn't remember that it does. I'm not saying I forgot.
I'm asking in terms of a Rav Mufat. That's what I'm asking.
So I don't know the Allah. We'll see it later on. I think. I'll call him based on Kulan. I feel love Haluk in any Korea Elyon. I love Valimo Korea's Kulan. Maybe I'll just make a point. There's all the Ilchas Kriya now. The Halachas of Kriya. So on all the relatives, he only tears the outer garment. But on a parent, he tears all the garments. If there are many layers of garment, if he has a jacket and a sweater and a shirt, afi kor suso eno makeves. But he doesn't have to tear afi kor suso. Which garment is that? So there's machlokas. Some say that it means undergarment, which will mean an undershirt. He wouldn't have to tear. Some say that it's talking about a scarf of some sort that he wouldn't have to, and some say that it means an overcoat. Three pshatim of what afikar susa means, that even though he tears all the garments, but he doesn't have to tear an undergarment. Some say it means a kind of a scarf, a sudar that he wears on his head and it hangs down. He doesn't have to tear that either. And some say that it means the overcoat that he doesn't have to tear. Allah does not have to tear.
Some people do that. No, just the shirts.
So on another relative, it'd only be if you're wearing a jacket and a shirt. So and a sweater. So on other relatives, only the jacket, and on a parent, the jacket, the sweater, the shirt, but not the undershirt. And they talk about the big abakanfos, the towels. They say also they don't have to. The next halacha continues also all about kriya. Isha. There's no difference as far as a woman also has to tear kriya. If she's in a veilus, she also has to tear. When a woman is a mourner on a parent, if it's on a different relative, so she just tears the outer garment and not anything else. So she's sanua. But if she has to tear on a parent, so then she does it in a way that she should not be uncovered. So she first tears the lower not talking about the undergarment over here, because anyway that's unnecessary to tear, like we said 2 lines ago. But you would tear the clothing which is on the second layer, and then she turns it around somehow in a way that cut shouldn't be in front of her, and then she's going to tear the outer garment so she won't be revealed. The point is to make that she shouldn't be revealed, so she'll tear a garment. 2 garments have to be cut, but ripped, but she'll tear the one.
It'll be different place.
Right. So then when she's going, right, it'll be covered by the other garment.
It's obviously has to do this in a private place, because the whole thing is.
Okay. I'll call him Mason Kul and Rasa Mavdil Kami Safa Shalom Rasa in Mavdil in Mavdil. Allah Valimo Mavdil. There's something called Mavdil Kami Safa, and the question what that means. In the Lach, it seems to mean that Mavdil Kami Safa means that it has to be from the edge of the beged. That rip, the two possibilities would be that he rips from the edge of the beged, or that he doesn't rip the edge and he does rips in the garment itself, but not that the rim, the safa, the edge of the beged. So here it says on other relatives he could tear it even in a way that he doesn't rip. And I'm not saying the way the Rashi says, we pass like the opposite of what Rashi says. So on other relatives, it doesn't make a difference if he tears from the edge or he tears from the middle of the garment. But on a parent, it has to be dafka by the edge. Nowadays, the custom is everybody tears from the edge. But if you want to, so another relative, you could tear, make a slit in the middle of the garment. That's also called he tore the beged. But it's not as noticeable when it's tearing from the edge, so then it's more open. And if it would be a slit in the middle of the garment, so then it wouldn't be as noticeable that it's a cut. So on other relatives, that's good enough. But on a parent, it has to be dafka in a way that it's open cut. Rabbi Yehuda says that always. It seems to us like I'm not sure. It says that if he doesn't do it from the edge, it's not considered a real kriya. Kriya shel tiflus. I don't know what the word tiflus means over here. If anybody has a translation, tiflus. Okay, Rashi doesn't explain the translation. He just says that it's not worth anything. It's not considered a kriya because it doesn't. So Rashi has his pshat, but we're going to say that it's not noticeable enough. So I don't know how the word tifla means over here. If anybody has a pshat, please join with us.
Here, article says uselessness.
Yeah, that's what it says, but that's what the word tiflus mean. How does the word tiflus means useless? Why do you see what does the word tafel mean? That's with a test. With a tough, it usually means bland. Tafel means bland, but I'm not sure if that's what the Gemara means over here. I don't know. The Gemara is going to prove, or at least say the reason of Rabbi Yehuda. My time with Rabbi Yehuda, where's Rabbi Yehuda get it from? That it always has to be mavdil kami safa, which means that he tears it from the edge. This is not a pasuk. We didn't have this pasuk before. This is talking about Elisha on Eliyahu. This is what Chaim David was referring to, that Elisha tore kriya when his Rebbe Eliyahu Hanavi was taken, and it says that he seized his garments and he tore it into two pieces. So the fact that it says the Shnaim, it's not enough to be the pasuk before. There it doesn't say before by David about Shnaim. Here it says Shnaim Kraim, into two pieces. So that means whenever you tear something, it gets divided into two. But it has to be noticeable. So in order to be noticeable, it's not enough to make a slit, which is just a slit in the middle of the garment. It has to be a whole slit. So he's saying every kriya is like that, and it seems to say that Yehuda argues on other relatives by a parent. Everybody else it has to be like that, but the question was by other relatives. It brings this pasuk to say that every kriya has to be like that.
Crime means what?
Two pieces of torn garment.
Because when you buy chicken, you buy crime.
That's with a cuff. This is a cuff.
Oh, it's a different.
I'll call him Mason Kula. Now the question is he allowed to sew up the kera? He tore his garment for kriya. Is he allowed to sew it up? Nowadays, no one will do that nowadays because how would it look? People are richer nowadays, and once it's torn, they're not going to use it. But is it mutter to sew it up? I'll call him Mason Kula. There's two kinds of sewing up. One is sholel, one is ma'acheh. Sholel means what Rashi calls basting, just very loose stitches just to hold it together.
Basting, you call it?
Is that true? I think so. I think it's what it's called. The baste, I think so. If I'm wrong, my English is wrong.
Loose stitches.
And ma'acheh means that he does a regular good stitching, a regular sewing up that you take to the tailor and he's ma'acheh.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about, at what point are we talking about?
After, so it says here.
After he's finished.
Let's read it. I'll call him Mason Kula and Shola Lacha Shiva, Ma'acheh Lacha Shloshim. My other relatives, after Shiva.
means?
The loose stitching, he just said it.
Oh, no, I thought we said, that's the word. I'm sorry.
So after Shiva, another relatives, he's allowed to make loose stitching, to tear up, to sew up the tear. But he can't do a good job on it until after Shloshim. But after Shloshim, he can take it to the tailor, make it as good as possible. Ma'acheh means a good stitching.
Oh, that's the opposite of shalom.
But on a parent, then it's more chamor. So he can't even be sholel until after 30 days. And he's never allowed to use that garment to make a good sewing. It's always going to be forever. It's never going to be sewn well. Now it says, the woman, when she tears kriya, so she's allowed to loosely stitch it together even right away during the shiva because of her honor that it shouldn't be revealed. Nowadays, they put a safety pin or something like that.
What's the word? Macha me'al kol panim.
Mem ches hey.
That's without an olive.
It's the wife. To wipe.
That's the wife. That's not that's a different one.
Right, there's something else.
Oh, macha. It's erased.
To wipe tears from a Kiyasa Rabin Amar Rabbi Yochanan. More differences between other relatives and a parent. I'll call them Mason Ratsa Korea Biyad Ratsa Korea Bekli. I'll have about Limo Biyad. On other relatives, the Kriya can be done by a kli if he wants, not only by hand, it also can be done by a utensil, a scissors, a knife. But on a parent, only by hand. Means it comes out a more messier kind of a tear. So
what's he using?
First white line, I'll call him Mason, he could tear by hand or with a utensil, but on a parent, only by hand. Nowadays they have to start. The person wouldn't be able to do it, so they started with a knife. But then the tear itself has to be by hand. That it should be messier.
Right? We do that on.
I'm sorry.
Today we do that not only on parents, right? On everybody.
It's not necessary. It's possible to do it with a cleave. He has a razor, whatever he's able to do.
The whole thing with the razor.
Yes. So here, the point is if he's showing, if he's doing it outwardly. Rashi talks about if he does it under another garment that it's not noticeable if he's wearing a coat. So the point is to say that he doesn't publicize. He doesn't have to show it in front of people. Another relative.
I guess it's a different story.
I'm not following.
His name is.
We're not talking about which garment. We're talking about if he does it in privacy or he does it publicly. So you mentioned that it should be done, but the Gemara didn't say so. Here the Gemara says that by other relatives he could do it b'bifnim. He could do it in a way people don't see. I love Alimo Karemi Buchos, but on a parent it's more of a grief to show his grief, and he does it in front of people. That a nasi also, when the nasi dies, everyone's supposed to tear kriya on the nasi. And also mibachutz. The same thing as by a parent that he does it mibachutz, he does it in public. So too, when the tearing kriya for a nasi, also should be in public. It says a brisa that says that they, who's they? And there it's talking about, Rashi brings down over there, it's talking about a nasi, a bezdin, rabo. Here it says rabo, a bezdin, nasi. That here it says that they're not equal to a parent. Over there it says they're only equated to a parent as far as ichoy, that ain't a machala olam. We said a couple of lines ago that when the person tore kriya for a parent, it's usher to ever tailor it. You never could do a good job. So then nasi, abezdin, and Rebbe are equal, but they're not equal to a parent as far as anything else. And now you're saying that a nasi is equal to a parent, that it's usher, that he's supposed to do it b'bechutz. He's supposed to do a public tearing. My love afilu nasi over there. That it says a Rebbe, a Bez, and a Nasi, and then it says that they're not equal. Isn't it going on a Nasi also? No, the Bam Nasi. No, it's not going on a Nasi. A Nasi is equal to a parent. Then another issue also that he tears in public. And the Gemara brings a story in the Sia Shachiv, the Nasi died. Either Rav Chanan bar Rava or Rav Nachman bar Rami, whoever it was. Kafi Yesisa, v'kum Allah, v'achvi kri Allah. Turn over the Asisa. Asisa is a mortar, some kind of a kli used for pounding. So turn it upside down is a big kli. Kafi means to turn over, overturn. Kofeh. Kofeh means to overturn. Asisa is the mortar.
Is the
mortar, mortar, that's the kli used for grinding, some kind of a big kli. And you have a pistol, a mortar and a pistol. So turn it upside down and stand on it and show everybody the kriya. It means do a public tearing. Everyone should know how to do it. That on a nasi, it's done openly. It's not done in privacy.
I don't understand what the mortar is.
It's a kind of a big kli. That's the nowadays we don't have it, but it used to be a big kli, and that's the mashal of a Gemara. We even had yesterday also that when it talks about yesterday's Gemara spoke about where does he sleep? It says over there. Where's that Gemara? One more page. It spoke about Daini Gedola. Here it was. Gabe Udaini Gedola. Over there, they told us that it means a machteshes. Rashi, top Rashi over there on Daf Chaf Aleph. So machteshes is the same thing. So for some reason, it was a huge kli that they'll be able to turn over and sleep. Yeah, turn it over and stand on it
as like
as a stage, you're able to get up.
It's not a kli that he's using for some kind of, I don't understand how this.
No, it's a big kli, a
Just
big
to stand
kli.
on top.
Like get on top of the chair, go on top of the chair and show everybody. So that's the end of the Gemara. What time are we ready? So we'll be back in a couple of minutes with Hilchah Shabbos, Muktzah.
Very well.
Darba.
Thank you. What is that?